Welcome back to Walking the London Road this week. Of course, it's an international break, and instead of talking about England against Latvia or Sparky nearly scoring against England, we're going to do a fun little episode and talk about our favourite and least favourite away days that we've done. Of course, we've almost been back in the Championship 18 months, so we might as well sit down and have a conversation about the away grounds in the division from an Oxford United perspective. Before we get on to things, gentlemen, how we enjoyed the weekend off. Connor, you off the back of another half marathon, I should say. How are we feeling?
Yeah, my legs are in absolute pieces. So my feet are not great. It's not looking good. I haven't even had a chance to put God's sweet nectar on my lips yet.
It seemed like another good time though, so congratulations, mate. Well, what have you
Thank
been
you.
up to this weekend?
I've been recovering from COVID and working full time, so I've been really enjoying it. Thanks.
Shit.
Yeah.
Just the way of things. You
At
always
least
get
I
good with
haven't
the
had
international
Oxford this
breaks.
weekend to ruin it though, so that's something.
Yeah, it's a nice change of pace.
Yeah.
So, the structure of the way we're going to do things is we're going to go one good, one bad, one good, one bad. So I gave the lads a bit of time over the weekend and myself a bit of time to have a think about the grounds we've done. We haven't done all the grounds in the championship, but I think we've got a good gauge on most of them. So we'll start with the best away in of the campaign. Now there's a couple of these because I think you can base this off two things. Obviously, the view you get from your seat and the concourse. And obviously there's match experience and all that kind of thing. We'll come on to in a little bit, but the ones that instantly spring to mind are quite ironically the grounds that are quite similar, like the away ends at Stoke and Cardiff. I think are quite nice because although you're in the corner, you've got a good view of the pitch. The concourse is very wide, but obviously they're very similar grounds, so it's an interesting one. Kind of the way kind of modern football grounds are going with what you deem as a decent away end. Will, what would you say is your favourite away end that you've done just based on kind of the concourse and the view we get?
Oh, based on view, I'm not sure. For favourite way, I was actually going to say Portsmouth because I
Okay.
really sort of like old style, proper old school football stadium. Right in the heart of the community. You're right next to the pitch, right next to the fans. It's got a brilliant atmosphere. It sort of feels like doing like a proper sort of football away day. So I
Yeah.
think in terms of that, I'd have to say Portsmouth is my favourite away end to me, or my favourite away day.
And the food at Fratton Park's a lot better than it used to be a couple of seasons ago. Connor, what about yourself?
Yeah, it's really boring. My answer was going to be Fratton Park as well because it is my favourite away day. And Fratton Park, it's done a very unique thing in that it's obviously upgraded like they've done across from their main stand and in the away end and on the concourse, but they've still managed to keep some of that really old early 1900s feel to it. They've still managed to keep it like it was, but just to be a little bit different. I went there when we got promoted for a League Cup game. I believe it was in 2016 or 2017. I was impressed with Birmingham City, with their views that they had, and I thought their concourse was very good as well. So give a little nod to them. But like you as well, I immediately thought of Stoke and Cardiff when we went last season, albeit that they were very similar. And being ex-Premier League grounds, I guess that's kind of what you'd expect like from a Premier League team to have. But yeah, I'm going to have to say Portsmouth as well.
And also very similar results. Obviously, it's the Britannia Bet 365, whatever it's called now, and the Cardiff ground. Um, the flip side of things, obviously, we were quite used to some of the really bad away ends in League One. I mean, I will always have fond memories of the away end in the Pirelli, that mad old fashioned terracing. But maybe we'll be back there again in a couple of months' time. Who knows? But worst, I think you mentioned it in our group a couple of weeks ago, Connor. QPR is up there.
Mhm.
QPR is up there. Watford is up there. They're very tight in terms of the actual concourse. And I didn't test for myself, but I think that Watford, they weren't serving booze in the away end, which is a massive red flag.
Yeah.
But just kind of the overall thing, obviously, the thing with QPR is a bit similar to Sunderland the other the ground we've got is just so high in the gods that sometimes the players are looking like ants.
Yeah, I wouldn't say. Oh, do you think that in QPR that they're looking like ants? In Sunderland that
if
they.
standing at the back of the ground, and also like if you're right at the back of the stand in the at QPR, you can't see across the face of your own goal.
Oh, right. See, I haven't stood as far back as that. I've been quite lucky in that sense. But you're right. At Sunderland, that was a pretty horrific one because they're about 3 centimeters tall, if that. So Sunderland might be the worst one, I think, since we've been back in the Championship for me.
Will, what about yourself? Worst away end in the division?
I'm going to say, this might seem a bit strange, I'm going to say Ellen Road, just because I was actually really disappointed with it.
Oh, yeah, that's a good shout, actually.
Just because like the view that you get is so rubbish. And it's actually quite hard to generate an atmosphere from that away end because you're so tucked into the corner. And obviously Leeds fans are Leeds fans, they're brilliant, aren't they? So it's sort of hard to sort of generate any sort of atmosphere, and the view you get is just rubbish. So, and for the distance that you're traveling up there as well. So probably not like objectively worse, but worse in the sense it was most disappointing for me.
Yeah, that's a great shout, actually, because where we were, my old man and I were all the way at the back, and we thought, all right, yeah, we'll get a great view. But no, you could only see the pitch, and there was the terrace covering, and then there were poles like every other 10 meters or so. Just couldn't see what was going on whatsoever. And especially against Leeds' opposite stand, they obviously have the double tier stand, and you see like how big it is and how much. And it was a sellout that day, as I'm sure most of the games were. It takes away a bit from the atmosphere, I found anyway.
Yeah, Edinburgh is an interesting one because it like from mates I know who have done similar grounds. It's a bit similar to like Selhurst in the position of the away end, the fact that the position of the roof means that you can't see all the ground. Obviously, there's massive poles in the way and all that kind of stuff, at least at Selhurst. So yeah, it's interesting, kind of those very historic, legendary grounds that do create a very good atmosphere. Can sometimes for opposition fans, it's probably designed in that way to a certain extent, is to make the experience of the away fan the worst it can possibly be, so that to give every little advantage to the home side. What's quite interesting though is that I think, obviously, for me, the two worst are two London clubs. Or Watford's like very edge of London. But in terms of actual away days, London is obviously one of the better ones because it's so, there's so many pubs. It's so easy to get around. Birmingham, similar. Lot of decent pubs around the Birmingham area. But I think in terms of like the best away places, because you're not just going to the ground, you want to make a proper day of it, into the pub and all that kind of thing. I go with which is better. I think maybe QPR, just given where it is in the Shepherd's Bush area, there's a lot of nice pubs. And it's relatively easy to get to. Will, what about best away places?
Best away places, I'm probably going to say Bristol, because Ashton Gate is sort of like quite close to like sort of central Bristol. It's also in Bedminster. There's lots of places you can go to there. Bristol's obviously quite a nice city, so it's like quite a bit to get up to there. So yeah, I'm probably gonna have to say Bristol City. It was really good this year because of the result as well, and we always take quite a fair supporters there. Yeah,
Bristol I think is an underrated place. Connor?
I'm gonna have to completely disagree with you, Sam. I think QPR is the worst, but we'll get to there in a second. See, I thought Cardiff would be like the best away day. However, when thinking about over it last season, did either of you go to Preston? Because my mind was completely blown by the price of booze there.
No, but I heard a lot of people, other fans talk about Preston is the best away day, but it's but it's just a bit of a faff to get to from down in OX.
It is a bit of a faff, but I'd say if you have a group of mates and you're able to stay the night over in Blackpool and make a day or weekend of it, Preston is definitely up there. right up there with one of the best away days, purely because A, of the amount of pubs that there are, and B, how cheap everything is compared to down here. So I went up and I stayed over with family who live around about an hour outside the area. We went to one pub. They got like a Guinness and some kind of German beer. And they said the price at like £4.20, and went completely over my head because I just assumed that the Guinness would be like £4.20, and not taking into account that there was another drink there. And then we went to another place, and then we got 2 more drinks, and that came to just about £3.90. And then there were these group of about 15 lads came in, and they were all from Oxford. So they got 15 like 330 single milliliter Budweiser bottles each, and it came to about 9-10 quid. And we were all there like, this is insane. Ransack the whole pub of beer. It was amazing. So yeah, probably Preston for me. Even inside they do good quality stuff as well, and it's cheap, and you get a decent view of the pitch. As you say, it's just dragging yourself across literally the other side of the country.
Yeah, that is something you kind of realise. I had it at Bristol. I think it was the first time when we did Ashton Gate, and we walked into a pub, and yeah, like a pint was like, I think I paid £3.75 for my pint, and I was kind of stood there going, holy shit, like.
Yeah,
because obviously, you know, viewers, if you're for some reason not an Oxford fan and watching this, you're looking at more like £5 to £6 for a pint down here. It's the only place that's worse than Oxford for beer prices is London. So yeah, we absolutely fleeced. But yeah, it's a nice change of pace when you go away and go and save a bit of money. Go on.
I've seen prices of £8 at the head of the river. It made me want to question everything.
Yeah, £7.75 for a Peroni. I don't go to Three Goats Heads. I paid £7.20. It was a really nice sunny day. Fancied a cider, and £3.20 for a blooming pint of cider. It's ridiculous.
When it comes to prices, though, nothing will ever be worse than Wembley. Because I remember going there, getting a pint of Stella. It was poured out of a can, and it was £9.50.
That's awful. The Green Man I thought was good. I thought they did decent prices.
Yeah,
Green Man was selling.
But the problem is you couldn't get in the damn thing after about, I think, what was it? Because I think I arrived at Wembley for maybe 1 o'clock, I think it was.
Oh.
And by then the Green Man was completely full, and they were turning everyone away, and had to go and pay the blooming prices in the fan area, which were, I think maybe like £7 a pint, which, like you say, in a plastic cup, and it was just.
See, we got there. I want to say we got there at like 11, 10:30.
Yeah.
So we got to the train station super early, and I bumped into Oxford's old chum, Stuart Donald and Charlie Methven, and he was. He had a bit too many, so I had some great conversations with him. He was letting out a bit too much than he probably should do.
It's nice to hear that at least one of those, at least 1 or 2 of the guys from the old regime still, for some reason, decided to come support the boys at Wembley. So, on the flip side, worst away places. Connor, tell me about QPR, because this is a potentially a bit of a hot take.
QPR, even from Oxford, is like a 40-minute train ride away, and then you got the tubes. But the trains are too expensive. The beer's too expensive. You can't see anything on the pitch, as we said. All the pubs in and around are just. It's nice to like. Oh yeah, you can get the Insta photo if there's like sunset, and it's like on a either coming out of the ground in August or May. But as I said, everywhere's so expensive. Price of Guinness or beer or whatever is going to be easily £7-8, and Shepherd's Bush isn't exactly an area where you can tighten the purse strings if you want to get anything. Basically, the price of food is horrendous in there as well. Trying to get out of the ground, especially if you're going on the coach, it takes about 25 to 30 minutes just to get out of the damn ground. By the way, because of how narrow and how thin it is. Once you get there, you have to go all the way around the other side of the stadium. Basically, you have to do an entire walk just to get there. And then once you get out, if you're getting on the train and it's a midweek game, you're stuffed because you have to try and run to chase your train. And then you have to try and get on and beat everybody at Shepherd's Bush underground station to try and make it to Paddington, and hope that there isn't someone at Paddington who's checking all your tickets to get onto the right train. It's just a nightmare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, like I say, even though there are a lot of pubs around Shepherd's Bush, it's blooming expensive. And yeah, that it's tip for anyone doing QPR away is going to Shepherd's Bush tube station, go Wood Lane, because it goes, it's a 20-minute tube directly to Paddington if you go in there, and it's a lot less busy than at Shepherd's Bush station. Will, worst away place?
I was going to say two. I was going to say either Plymouth, because not only is it a long way to get there, but it's also quite far from the station.
Yeah.
Or I was going to say Coventry. Now, Coventry is actually going to be my shout for best away place, because I like how there is like a train station literally right outside the ground. However, if you actually want to do like anything in Coventry, the stadium is so far out of the way. It's another one of those sort of like out of town sort of stadiums. It's so far removed from the city centre. So I'd probably say those two, Coventry or Plymouth, just because of how far away they are. And as a result, like there really isn't much to do other than go to the football game.
Yeah. On a similar note of stadiums massively out of the way, I was going to go for Stoke or Middlesbrough. I couldn't decide which, because even though Stoke's got a nice away end, actually getting there is a total pain in the arse. When we went there last season, I had to walk from basically down, I think it was like an hour and maybe 20 minutes from the station, walking down the canal to get to the ground, and it's kind of in a industrial estate type area. There's nothing around there, and then getting back from the ground to the station, doing blooming zigzags through Stoke. And yeah, I'll come back to Middlesbrough in a minute, because again, it's like in the docks area, which is kind of a bit nice and scenic, but again, there's like very little round there. We mentioned a couple of bits and pieces about actually being, on the day itself. What were our best memories of doing away from the last season and a bit with Oxford United? We'll start with you.
Last season, I really enjoyed Bristol City away, just because it was a packed out away end. There was obviously there was a bit more to the game because of everything to do with Liam Manning. The limbs when Ruben Rodriguez scored in the first half was obviously good. It was heartbreaking in the second half when Mark Harris didn't stick that like right in front of goal. But anyway, I think for other good away day memories, I think like there's some really good. That we didn't get many results on the very last season. But there were some really good away ends. So like being away in the Coventry was really, really good. I remember that being really loud, even if we didn't bring many, because it was only I think it was a Friday night we went up there.
Yeah.
Watford as well, even though it was a very frustrating game and we ended up losing it. Again, that was a really, really good away end to sort of be part of. It was the day after my birthday as well, so that's obviously got good memories for me, even if I don't remember much of it. But I think sort of like those sort of memories for me. Again, also it was a thing of like it was our first season in the Championship, so again like the buzz of like going to like all these new stadiums, like and being so grateful that we didn't have to go to Burton Albion anymore, or Wycombe Wanderers away, and like just like sort of being able to go to like proper, ex-Premier League stadiums, I think sort of added to the whole experience.
Yeah. Connor, best away memories from the last season in a bit.
Easy for me, Cardiff away, penultimate away game of the season. There was about 4,000 Oxford fans there, I think, and it was, up until recently, one of the worst performances I think I'd seen in the past 18 to 24 months. It was absolutely dogged, and then just took one moment of magic, and I think everybody completely lost their rocker. So probably Cardiff away for me. Yeah, Cardiff away. Brannigan stuck it in the top corner from about 70 yards out.
That flash, I don't remember. I don't know if you had a similar thing, Connor, because I think we saw each other on a day. I think I was 2 or 3 rows above you, and it was that moment kind of. Gudrun wins the foul, and we're all stood there going like, "Oh God!" But this is going to be another waste opportunity. But I think there was one of my mates was like, "I tell you, Brannigan's going to shoot from here," and we're kind of all looking, and it's like it's like a flash of light, and suddenly, bang! Ball's in the top corner, and we're almost flying several rows forward because we can't believe what we've just seen.
Yeah, I said to my mate and I, ironically, we saw how far he was, and then we just looked at the net, and then we didn't see him take the kick, and we were just looking ironically, and we saw it bulge. And these poor chaps in front of us, there must have been about 14, 15. I don't think that they actually saw any light for the next 30 seconds.
That was incredible. like you said, Bristol, Ruben's goal. Remember falling several rows forward and being kind of like. It's my favourite when you score a goal and you end up kind of on your back looking at the top of the stand, just in a moment of sheer ecstasy. Swansea, I'll throw in Swansea away. Obviously, last game of the season, party mode. Not a great away end because you get kind of it's split in two and it's a proper pain in the arse. Like their stewards are proper arsey, but everything around that party atmosphere. Swansea's a decent place, pretty cheap, relatively nice. But the top for me will always be going to the Den on New Year's. I think I mentioned it a couple of times over the course of the time we've been doing the podcast. But that away end, like the fact it was our first away win of the season in the pouring rain at the Den. And then, we did get flicked going back into to London Bridge for a couple of pints, but it was a bloody good time.
Can I throw in, I think it was second away game of the season, if you went to Blackburn and where we were, and Mark Harris absolutely pelting from about 40, 45 yards. I don't think that I was in utter disbelief at what I saw. I'm not sure about you two.
So I was watching that game on a totally legitimate stream, and
yes.
Saw the goal go in, and then it all just fell apart. And I remember thinking, because I think two or three of my mates had actually gone to Blackburn even, and I was like, I didn't want to be in that away end because it by the end of the game it seemed like just a miserable place to be.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Because I remember in that game, the first 20 minutes, we were pretty, like we looked dominant. We looked like that we should have put about 2 or 3 past them, but bit of an insignificant result in the end, really.
I was going to say that seems to be the story of Oxford over in our time in the Championship. Is started really well, or at this point in the game we were really good and could have scored more goals, but we didn't because evidently our attacking players can't hit the broadside of a bloody barn at points. On the total flip side, go on, Will.
Wait, Sam, I'll just say one thing. Like, I think there's something we're avoiding here. Like the worst away day in the Championship has to be Oxford United. If you think like the price of a pint, how far it is from the city centre, just things to do in the general area. I mean, it's a Blackburnese. What else? Like the actual away end, the actual stadium atmosphere. Like I truly pity any fans who have to sort of visit us on an away day because it can't be fun. So hats off to anyone who actually makes the journey here.
It is poxy, isn't it? I always say that fans coming in because they can tick it off on their stadium app as part of the 92. Do you know what I mean?
When we got like Brighton in that League Cup and we were pummeled 6-0, and I went on social media, I saw all these Brighton fans. Oh yeah, great! I get to go to Oxford now. And they still got the Manor Ground. Like, I've heard good things about that. I was like, they don't know, do they? They really don't know. Yeah,
it's like let me introduce you to the Hollywood Bowl and the James Bar and the Oxy and all that kind of stuff. I'm very much looking forward to, as we've talked about before, getting out of the Castad into a proper ground because you're right. We are kind of skirting away from the fact that our away end is the worst in the Championship. I mean, maybe other than Gillingham, because Stockport have redone their away end. I think in the last couple of weeks, I think we might have the worst away end in the division. Speaking of worst, worst memories of games we've done, because obviously we had a lot of losses last season, so there's a lot that could go into this. Will, which away days did you walk away from last season thinking, why did I do that? That was everything about that was just the worst.
Worst away. I'm going to say Hull City away because that was.
Yes.
It was a Wednesday night, or it was some sort of. It was a midweek game, and I made the journey up to Hull, and it was like again Hull were like sort of quite low down the table that season, so we really should have beaten them. It was such a frustrating game. And then we, by some miracle, went 1-0 up, and then it all just went to pot. And I think it was also one of the games. It was Jamie Cumming. I think he just it's like an own goal, or he let it in through his near post, and a long journey back that night as well. So yeah, because of that, I'm going to have to say Hull City, and Hull City as well. Typically, I mean, it's not like the worst, but it's not a great away day either because it's quite far from the station. There isn't really much to do in the city as well.
Yeah, the only good thing about Hull is the food in the away, and it's quite good. Yeah, I agree on that. I did Hull this season. Yeah, it was not a nice experience. Connor?
I was going to say Sheffield United went up on a Tuesday night and got pummeled 3-0, but then I remembered it was Sheffield United and they were incredible last season.
Yeah.
But it's going to have to be that team in Shepherd's Bush again, QPR. It was dogged. It was horrible that day. And I'm paraphrasing here. I said in the concourse, at that time, I think that there was only a couple of spaces between the two towards the bottom. I'm paraphrasing. It says something along the lines of, if we can't be that lot, then we're buggered. Because it was that bad. It was that bad of a game and performance. And I think that might have been a game that certainly accelerated albeit it wasn't a majority, a fair amount of people whose minds were turning on Des after that game just because of how bad it was.
I was going to say, I think that was Des's penultimate game in charge, I think.
Yeah, then it was Sheffield Wednesday, and that wasn't any good either.
Yeah,
that was
and then
bad.
Sacked.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was not a nice away end last season. The one that I can't get out of my head is Middlesbrough. It was horrific. Basically, what had happened, I went on a coach with a couple of mates, and it was 12.5-hour round trip. Stopping in Doncaster for I think it was Doncaster for a couple of drinks, and then just kind of a bit like with the whole game. We were like, how the hell are we doing this? I think we were even mistakenly saying, we did this a couple of times last season, how shit must you be, we're winning away, and then obviously they come out the much better side in the second half, and it was just a miserable journey back. That was horrible.
It's always a journey back, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
always a journey
when you've
back.
lost and you kind of sat there and you've got time to think about it. It's very much horrific. You almost kind of sat there like I did with a couple of mates at the Blackburn. You sat thinking, what was the point of doing this? Like,
Then you start to remember all the money you spent on the coach and the tickets and the food and the beer, and it starts to tally up again. Like, why did I put myself through this? Yeah.
I'm doing Wrexham in a couple of weeks' time, and I fear I'm going to be doing the exact same process.
I'm not looking forward to that.
I'll be seeing you there, mate. Because I don't know about you. I saw it and went, I want to do it because it's like to tick it off the 92 lesson and all that kind of thing. But I've just got a horrible feeling because, like you say, it's like going to North Wales on a Wednesday night is going to be rank.
Yep.
It isn't a nice stadium either. Are they? Am I right in saying they also have 3 stands for the moment? They always seem to be knocking one down behind that goal.
Yeah, their 4th stand at the minute is a building site, so we're a little bit better than them.
So now we get a taste of our own medicine, I suppose, of what we put other supporters through.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, that'd be fun.
I think the Wrexham away end is actually closer to the home fans, isn't it? It's like this weird thing if you've got like the way they constructed their stands.
That'd be good.
So we'll close up this video with a very, very quick preview of Derby coming up at the weekend. It's a 12:30 kickoff, which we used to like last season, but not so much this year. So obviously, Derby from their last 5, I should say, have drawn 3 games in a row and are on obviously better form than we are, but not by much. We might have a couple of bodies back. Ole Romane started the last quarter in Indonesia's last 2 games. They failed to qualify for the World Cup. So maybe Ole will be back involved. And we had Luke Harris starting for the Welsh Under-21s, Brody Spencer being involved for the Northern Ireland side, Mark Harris for Wales against England. So we usually okay after international breaks from the memory last season. What are we thinking going into this game, Connor?
If we both don't beat Derby, then I might be slightly worried because Derby, along with, I'm going to leave out Sheffield United and Sheffield Wednesday because Derby, along with Blackburn, are just as bad as Oxford. Like if you look at their performances, as you say, over the past few games, and you look at their XG and you look at where most of their goals have come from, over half of their goals have come from either set pieces, free kicks, or penalty kicks. They had Carlton Morris. He was started off firing. He scored 4 goals at the start of this season, but since then he's just come off. Agyemang up front, he looks okay. He looks like he's a bit of a presence, but I guess that he's still bleeding in at the moment, and he's still got a fly back from the US. So we're not sure what toll that's going to take on him. But at the same time, you can say we got Greg Lee coming back from Jamaica, which I wouldn't expect him to start anyway after he's been flying that long. So this is, if we want to get 3 points and get up and running, and especially in these next 3 games against Derby, Wrexham and Sheffield Wednesday, absolutely nothing less than 3 points, because then not only myself, I think a lot of other fans will even then start to A, either panic, B, say I told you so, or C, a lot more fingers, in my view, wrongly, will start being pointed at Rowett.
Definitely. I think that's a common thought across fan bases, that the rest of the games with October, we cannot lose a single one. We have to get something out of every single game.
Drawing won't be good enough either. Sorry, Sam.
I'd agree. It's all right. I'd agree with Sheffield Wednesday. Derby, yeah, I think you're right in that we can't draw the Derby game. We have to get 3 points. Wrexham is kind of up in the air given the quality of players they've got. Derby have got a few injury issues as things stand. They've got the likes of Corey Blackett-Taylor, Curtis Nelson, Owen Beck, Liam Thomason, Fotman tells me are out injured, so they're not the strongest, and they do seem to have a habit of throwing away leads this season.
They do, but then again, so do we. If you think about it, and I think both teams are sort of going into it with little to no momentum. I mean, we are coming off, like, our last 3 results have been 2 losses and a draw, and their last 3 results have been 3 1-1 draws. So I think, like, both teams are sort of like doing rubbishly at the moment, but at the same time, we, as much as them, will be looking at this game as sort of like the chance to sort of start to kick on our season and to get some points on the board. But I completely agree with Connor. Like, we need something out of the game, and a draw won't cut it. We need to be winning this game, but I don't know if I feel very confident that we will, just because of how poor we've been in the last 3 games. I think maybe one good thing might be that the international break might have come at the right time for us, in that it's a time to sort of like reset and sort of allow to sort of like sort of get a bit of fire back into the players. It'll be worse sort of going into this game like straight after losing 2 games, straight after having this dreadful results that we've just had, that you guys talked about. So, like, I think, like, because of that, we might have a chance, but I don't know. I can't really foresee what's going to happen. I agree with Connor that we need to win, but I can't really see if we're going to, because sort of like both teams are going into it like with a really sort of like dead run of form at the moment. So I can't really see to what's going to happen.
That's the thing, is that I think the any confidence for either side is proper low at the minute. Like I mentioned, they've got 3 draws in their last 3 games, with 1 loss and 1 win. It's both sides are itching to get some points on the board, and you know this. I can see this being a little bit like our trip to Pride Park last season. It being very scrappy. Obviously, that I think was a Tuesday night kickoff. I can see it being very scrappy because both sides just see the priority is get 3 points and, you know, finally get your campaign back, you know, back underway and build some kind of momentum to, you know, trying to achieve your aims. Obviously, we mentioned kind of the some of the players that might be back available for Oxford. Do we expect we have mentioned a couple of weeks ago about the conundrum of Brannigan and de Keersmacher. A bit more chat by BBC Radio Oxford team about our idea of playing Will Vaulks as a number 6 with de Keersmacher and Brannigan ahead of him. Can we see Rowett sticking with the same system, or do we think that maybe he can see the importance of getting some points in this game and might mix it up?
I don't think that Rowett is as stubborn maybe as we've had with previous managers. Mm-hmm. He's shown previously that he can adapt and that he is willing to adapt given the opposition and given how the team is playing. Granted, recently he hasn't really shown that, and it has been quite similar and repetitive. But I would just hope that he's taken this time, this week and next week, to work on something like that. And I was actually thinking about it in my head over the course of the week. It's how much time I have on my hands about putting Volks into that 6 and having Brannigan and De Keersmaker in the centre and just being able to release them and give them a bit more freedom. But then I guess that gives the conundrum of who does he drop up in forward areas. So I would imagine straight away that, or in my mind anyway, that Prelec would drop to the bench. But I mean, say bringing Lancashire off or Prelec on for Lancashire isn't exactly a bad option to have, I guess, at the moment. And if say we did go 1 up, which I think that we will do. We will go 1 up and then try and see it out until the start of the second half, and then bring on Prelec for Volks, and then drop back into a 4-2-3-1. That's what I imagine will play out.
Obviously, contrary to the Watford game, Krastev also featured over the international break for Bulgaria, so he might be able to jump straight back in, which would be good to have that his explosive creativity in the wide areas. Look, we don't do predictions on this show. We've already mentioned that it's a must win game. Will. I don't want to get into the discussion already of, new manager or all that kind of stuff. But like Connor said, if we aren't able to get a result out of this game, there needs to be, some serious panic around this football club, doesn't there?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think fans are it's understandable why some fans are panicking. I mean, for me, I'm not pleased, but I'm not panicking just yet. I feel like if we don't beat Derby, and if we don't get something out of Wrexham, and if we don't get something out of Sheffield Wednesday, and if basically for most of October, if it's sort of the same run of form that we've been on for the whole season thus far, then I think I'll start to panic. I think once we get to November, once we get to sort of like West Brom away, I think it's the 8th of November, and we're still in the same position. We're still on a similar number of points. It doesn't really look like anything's changed or anything's improved. That's when I think myself and a lot of other supporters are going to be sort of really starting to question whether Rowett is the right man for the job, and then whether we can bring somebody else in. But yeah, I can't really foresee what the board are going to do. Like when Des was sacked last season, it sort of really took me back because yes, performances and results were really poor, and some fans were angry, but a lot of fans also supported him. So it's sort of it surprised me. So in this instance, I don't really know what the board are thinking. I'm guessing they're obviously going to give him a bit more time, but I'm not sure how much more time they're going to give him. But then again, it is a same thing with football. Is that all it takes is one good result next week against Derby County, and then suddenly we're dancing again, and everyone's happy, and we're going to finish mid-table and this and that. But I feel like October is sort of make or break for Gary Rowett. Things really need to start to improve. We need to start getting some consistency. We need to start getting some points on the board. And if we don't, and if we're sort of in a similar position by November, then I think it will be right for the club to start questioning whether he's really the person who can keep us in the Championship. Because, it's never good for a club to be relegated, but especially with the position that we're in financially and with the stadium, I think, we really depend on our status in this league. So I can sort of foresee the board being a little bit more trigger happy when it comes to sort of bringing in new managers.
Very I think it's a good way to see this episode out. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, viewers. Please remember to, of course, like, comment, and subscribe on the YouTube episode. It really, really helps us in the algorithm. Of course, you can listen to us on YouTube and Spotify, and of course, follow us all on socials. It's like Jen said, it's a very important month coming up, or rest of the month, I'd say, for Oxford United Championship survival. So we'll see you next week, where hopefully Oxford have got 3 points on the board. Thanks so much, folks. We'll see you later.